All right, today we're working on the 4590. So I picked up this baler last year when my 273 blew up out of nowhere. I paid, I think it was like $10,500 for this. And the guy had done a ton of work to it. The problem is these pickup teeth, these pickup tines, whatever you want to call them, they are in rough shape. Like you can see right there where they've been hitting, not where they're supposed to hit, and they're all bent to shit. There's a ton of them missing. They're in rough, I mean, there's, yeah, missing right there. They're in rough shape. And the problem that I'm having is this side will clump up with hay and it won't feed into the augers. So I'm only pulling hay on that side, and then I have uneven bales because it's an inline baler. It has to be even to have even bales, and they're not. So we're gonna rip all these apart, take off all these strippers right here, throw them in a pile, take off all the teeth, and then I've got new teeth coming in a couple of days. We'll get those installed because I got a big job that I need the baler for. And hopefully it changes how it's baling. I'm also picking up a new stack wagon tomorrow. That's another separate video that I'll do. But since I bought this, I've added, well, I already had lights on the back over here, but they weren't wired up to anything. So it's got these two LEDs. So I wired those up. I added my moisture meters on the inside of the bale chamber on both sides so I can figure out my moisture inside the cab of the tractor real time. And then one of my favorite things I did to this baler that was like $20 is that fan. Just some cheap fan on Amazon. I think it's like 20 bucks with that and the wiring to do it. Thrown on there, and it blows those knotters like crazy while I'm baling, and I virtually have no chaff on any of this. No buildup, no anything. And I can go a long time between cleanings. Like I've done probably 2,000 bales this year so far, and I just barely cleaned all this up with my air just so I could clean, or just so I could, you know, replace all these tines. But that's a huge game changer if you haven't done that on your baler. And then I've got everything coming up. So I've got, obviously you've got your hydraulic lines, 1, 2. This one's marked yellow for lights. This one's your moisture meter that plugs in. And this one's my fan. And then another cheap thing off Amazon that I did is just these switches. So I've got 4 switches, real time. One of them is always connected to this for power until I take this off for the winter, and then it just simply unplugs and I can store it. But these 3 are always open. So this one, let's see, that one's always plugged into these right here. And then I have 3 auxiliaries, which I only have 2 on that baler right now. I've got my lights and I've got my fan. So I think that was only 20-30 bucks on Amazon, and I just built a custom mount. Just welded something up real quick to slap in my tractor, and easy plug in. I just open my door, all my wires feed in right there. They come in, hook up, good to go. So anyway, we'll start tearing into the baler. Okay, so we got the strippers off, guides, whatever you want to call them, which by the way sucked. I mean, it only took like 20 minutes, but climbing up under to get those ones under there sucked. But now you can get a better idea. Like, look how bent those are. That's just worn through from rubbing on shit. And that one's missing. That one's bent to crap. Those are supposed to be like way up there. So we'll get all these off. There should be 56 of them total. And then we'll wait for the new ones to get here, get them put on. Okay, we're halfway through getting the tines off the tine bars. And I noticed, like, look at that tine bar. That thing is bent to hell. Like, I don't know if it's just from hitting the dirt. I don't know if the adjustment's off and it just took its toll on the bars and took its toll on the teeth. But I think we're just gonna put new tines on these bent bars and get through this hay season. And then this is gonna be a winter project to replace all 4 tine bars and all the teeth again. And then hopefully get some proper adjustment. I mean, even these skids, like that's not right. So we're gonna replace these shields on both sides because they both look like that. So it'll be a winter project, but we can milk it until end of this hay season. So parts just came in. These are all my new tines. And I ended up going and getting all new hardware to put them on too, just because I was missing some anyway. And those are probably the originals, seen better days. That was 50 bucks for all that new hardware. And then I got all these from, what's this place called? Sloan Express, I want to say. And these were way cheaper than getting them from the New Holland dealer. So we'll get these put on and get it all put back together. So the first bar is done with all new tines and hardware. And just to give you an idea of how bad these tines were, this is what they look like. They're not supposed to wear right there. They're not even supposed to have this bend right there in the middle. That's what they're supposed to look like. Not that. So this kind of, that bend right there kind of shows me that they hadn't the bend at all. I mean, it's not supposed to be bent at all, but I think they just ran it too close to the ground. And they were dragging the ground for so long on these tines that it just bent the crap out of them and wore, instead of raising the pickup enough to where it's only picking up right off the grass instead of in the dirt. So hopefully this fixes my problem. That's the next project that we just brought home a couple days ago. It needs, so far that I found, a fuel filter, or not fuel filter, fuel pump, and a clutch master cylinder, and a brake master cylinder. And then we can start chasing into that one. But anyway, we'll get all the rest of these other 3 done and start getting the covers back on. And there it is, all the tines are on. This is gonna make a huge difference with feeding into the baler. There it is, all put back together. Guess we'll test it out in 2 days when we go rake some hay, or yeah, rake and bale some hay. See how that feeds into there.